You dudes, Oren here. We're doing another mock draft, but this time we are doing mock drafts with only players from University of Michigan, Ohio State, and Alabama. Why those three colleges? Players from those three colleges? Because those are the three places where Brad Holmes himself has gone to check out players. If you remember, he went to the Michigan-Ohio State game earlier this past season, and then he also recently just went to Alabama's pro day, and we've heard about all that in the media and all that. And I was just listening to him talk at the owners meeting or whatever in an interview, and talking about it was right down the road, and so definitely gonna check it out. And then I was too busy to go to a game in Alabama, so go to the pro day and all that. So but we all know everything Brad Holmes himself does has a purpose behind it. So which players from these three colleges might he have his eye on, and who might he try to draft in this upcoming 2024 NFL draft set to take place in Detroit? Let's quickly go over some of the names from these three schools, then we'll go into the draft. So I have Alabama, U of M, and OSU. So from taking a quick glance at it, U of M and Ohio State have two first rounders. Like Ohio State has one of the top five people, and then obviously U of M, JJ McCarthy in the first round projection, and then OSU after that they don't have too much after that. Just one person projected to go in the third round, and then a bunch of day three people, and then Alabama has a bunch of people projected to go in the first round, but then in the day two and day three, not much after that. Michigan, though, they have a handful of people and projected to go in day two, and then a whole bunch of people projected to go in day three, especially like lineman types. But I guess if you had to rank them in this particular order, you definitely Marvin Harrison Jr. in the top five, JJ McCarthy or Dallas Turner, actually, rather, somewhere in the top 10. Terrion Arnold, somewhere in the top 20. JJ McCarthy in the first round. JC Latham in the first round. Kool-Aid McKinstry in the first round, somewhere there as well. And then Mike Sanristil. Hopefully, I'm saying his name right. No one's corrected me so far. He's a top 50 type of person. And then Chris Braswell from Alabama, an edge rusher. He's projected to go midday two, but from looking at some of the stuff I've seen on him on PFF, he looks like somebody who should be a first rounder, but I don't know why he's dropped so low. Yeah, anyways, with that. And then other midday two people, there's Junior Colson, Chris Jenkins Jr. You heard me talk about him in a previous video. Roman Wilson, and then some third rounder types, Jermaine Burton, Blake Corum, another pretty famous U of M player for the last couple of years or so, I'd say. And then third rounder, Michael Hall Jr., a defensive lineman from Ohio State. And then day three people, there's Zach Zinter, Cade Stover, and then Justin Eboigbe, and Cornelius Johnson, and Tommy Eichenberg. And then late day three people, Jace McClellan, I said Cornelius Johnson already, Trent Jones, Drake Nugent, Michael Barrett, and then Jalen Hall, Trevor Keegan, AJ Barner, Ladarius Henderson, and then Josh Proctor and Steely Chambers. And I'm not counting the kickers in this one. I know Alabama's got one that we've talked about, Reichard, I think his name is. So, but yeah, let's keep all these names in mind, and let's get into this mock draft here. All right, we'll do 7 rounds here, picking the Detroit Lions. I'll do this one fast-ish. Yeah, that would have to be fast. And then I like to do 50-50 with these settings here. And then enter draft. And then let's start the draft. We know Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably going to go up there early. Lions are at 29. Let's see which of those players I just talked about have already gone here in the first round. There's Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3 already to the Patriots. as I fiddle around here. And there's those Alabama first rounders I was just talking about. Looks like a three consecutive just went there. Dallas Turner to the Colts at 15, J.C. Latham to the Seahawks at 16, Terry Arnold to the Jaguars at 17. And then there's J.J. McCarthy going to the Rams at 19. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, but uh, whatever floats your boat, I guess. Rams on the PFF simulator robot thing. Um, and that's it for that. So those are who are not available. So let's look over here. There's Kool-Aid McKinstry who's available. Chris Brownswell. There's Mike Sainristil still, who's a day two guy who's, in my opinion, Brownswell should be ranked higher because I'll show you why. Very explosive athlete, and those type of athletes are typically first rounders, aren't they? And then they have natural strength and fast hands. And then 6'3" and 255 pounds. That's pretty impressive there. What does it say? Even if he doesn't become a pass rush technician, Browswell's power, speed, and length that present a rotational role as a floor and an impact starter ceiling. Bit stiff, hard uses of precision are inconsistent, has a false step, and then still learning the timing of when to throw certain pass rush moves. So that sounds like stuff that could be coached. You guys can kind of see where I'm leaning with this first pick right now. So I know a lot of people are the popular pick here is Kool-Aid McKinstry, but I think for the sake of being a little bit different, just checking out the other people here. Roman Wilson, he'll probably be there in the second round, wide receiver for Michigan. Jermaine Burton, wide receiver, Alabama. Chris Jenkins, D lineman, Michigan. He'll probably be there too. Junior Colson, linebacker, Michigan. All right. Yeah, just because I haven't done him yet, probably the first and last time I do him. Let's do Chris Brownswell here at pick 29. Then let the board fall where it may. All right, who's gone since that pick has happened? Okay, Sandra Still went a couple picks later to the 49ers at pick 31, so good for him. I think he could very well be a superstar. He's just it's his height, I think, is the main concern right now. McKinstry went number 35 to the Cardinals. Roman Wilson to the Panthers at 39. Jermaine Burton, 46 to the Colts. And now we're back with our pick here. So let's see who's available from those three teams. Chris Jenkins, definitely a run stuffing strong guy. So and Junior Colson, linebacker, although good for run defense, but the Lions don't need a linebacker right now. Blake Corum, he'd be a good symbol of Michigan winning culture, probably right up there with JJ McCarthy. But the Lions don't really need a running back, at least like in terms of a starting running back right now. Maybe depth like later on day 3, but and nobody else from Alabama. So I think the majority of the Alabama people are gone here. So let's go ahead and do Chris Jenkins here at pick 61, the second round. And it was interesting because I know Michael Hall Jr. There he is. He was somebody I kind of looked at. He seems like a pass rushing specialist. If Kalijah Cansey, I think this particular defensive lineman right here would be the Kalijah Cansey of this year's draft because he's lighter. He's kind of a basketball type of player body who just so happens to play defensive line. He's 6'2", 280, but yeah, I saw Yep, looks like a basketball player with his Euro step setups and all that. But yeah, he'd be good for pass rushing. He's good at shooting the gaps and that sort of thing. But since I already got Jenkins, Probably better to look elsewhere right now from those three schools. Where am I at? But yeah, unless I wanted to double dip in D line, but there's Tommy Eichenberg, also from Ohio State. Excellent eyes and run defense. No over the balls, slippery between the tackles. Good hit power. So he sounds like a good runs, traditional run stuffing type of linebacker. Pretty decent size for it. Doesn't do anything in coverage, but missed tackle rate looks like where you would want it to be. Cade Stover, tight end, Ohio State. Lions do not need a tight end. It's unfortunate that the U of M wide receiver went because, well, I guess I'll show you why. Not to bounce all over the board here, but his receiving grade, yards per drop rate 2.0%. Like his stats here on PFF look pretty respectable. And, he's got average height and weight for a receiver. So it's unfortunate that he was picked because I think I probably would have picked him with a second round pick and then uh, Michael Hall Jr. with a third round pick there. Well, here's another edge from Alabama, but we already just got one. Cornelius Johnson. Contested catch rate 81%. That's pretty impressive, even though receiving grades at 70. 6'3", 208. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I think I'll pull the trigger on this guy, Cornelius Johnson, for that other pick. All right. So just to recap where we're at one Alabama player drafted and two Michigan players drafted. Nobody from Ohio State yet. So, and because it was such a long gap from that early third round to where we at mid round 5 now. Let's see who we have left from those three schools. Drake Nugent, Nugent. Yeah, some of these names I might mispronounce. So looking at them for the first time. So one thing I did notice, there's probably going to be a lot of day 3 offensive linemen for Michigan who could go here, and like Trevor Keegan as well, guard for Michigan, and Ladarius Henderson, tackle for Michigan. So let's take a quick look at these guys. 76, 78, 76, 70. So that's right around B-ish range. So seems like a pretty good center. 6'2", 301. So decent size. I guess the Vikings want him slightly more than Lions do. The Vikings fans, that is. Trevor Keegan. All right. Excuse me. Most of his I guess grades look a little worse than the other guy, but his pass rush grade is really good. Pass block grade, excuse me. 6'6". Oh, he's very tall too, and 320. So impressive there. Again, the Vikings want him, and then Lions in second place there with that. And then Ladarius Henderson. And all of his grades look well below average, unfortunately. He's another tall one too, 6'4", 315. And Packers kind of want him, I guess. There's also a Michigan tight end, AJ Barner, and then edge rusher Jalen Harrell from Michigan. But we addressed edge rusher, and then we don't need tight end, obviously, because we have Sam Laporta and James Mitchell. Steely Chambers, linebacker from Ohio State. I did look at a linebacker just before. Decent coverage grade. But if I'm looking for a linebacker, I'm looking for one that could help with special teams, and specifically that the run defense grade would be the useful stat for looking at that. That and the missed tackle rate. The missed tackle rate looks pretty good though. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and where is he? Let's go ahead and get Drake Nugent or Nugent or Nugget or let's go ahead and get Drake center from Michigan. Help give the Lions some O-line depth. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions just, took all the Michigan offensive lineman players day three to, help increase the depth there. So if that's what they decide, but they might go to the Chargers too, because that's where Jim Harbaugh is now coaching at. So we're in the sixth round now, pick 201. Any other Alabama or Ohio State players? There's a running back, Jace McClellan. All right, good running ish grades. 5'11", 212. Okay. Can't quite tell much from there, but I'll keep him in mind. Mayan Williams, another running back, but this one from Ohio State. Okay, his grades look like they're much worse. Although he had two really good grades the 2 years before. He must have been injured this year. 5'9". Okay, that's pretty short. Not that height with running backs matters that much, but weight is kind of what you want to look at, I guess. With that. Ooh, Josh Wallace, cornerback from Michigan. Oh my gosh, that does kind of look impressive. Coverage grade 84.9. That's like A minus ish range. Run defense grade 87.8. That would be good there. Man coverage grade 68.2. That's more like a C minus ish. And I know the Lions really like people who can do man to man, but last year the Lions defense played a lot more zone than what we've seen. So they might be doing zone now. And um, B plus 81.8-ish grade for zone coverage grade. So Josh Wallace could definitely, okay, 6 foot even, 190. So that's a normal length for height and weight for a cornerback. Lions want him the most at 14%. I say let's go ahead and give him that. And then just a couple picks later, here we are again with the 6th-round pick. Yeah, that was the Tampa Bay Bucks pick with Josh Wallace that we got as part of the trade for Tampa Bay's cornerback. So ironic, we get a second cornerback with that pick. All right. We've already looked at this running back, Jace. Mayan Williams, we already took a peek at. Trente Jones, tackle from Michigan. Pretty decent pass blocking grade. Another pretty tall one, too. Did I already look at him and I forgot? Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I realize I'm really underrepresenting Ohio State on here, but um, I try to be fair whenever I can. But then again, it is Ohio State, so you can understand if there might be bias against that. But okay, Josh Proctor, safety, Ohio State. Ooh, run defense grade 83.9. Missed tackle rate 13.6%. Kind of average there. 6'2", 205. So he's slightly above average with height and weight. I'm thinking Josh Proctor. I don't know if he plays special teams, but he seems like he would profile as a special teams player. I guess I'll just do the thing where I honestly said I gave fair representation at all technically for that reason. So yeah, let's go ahead and give him Josh Proctor. And we got one more pick in the 7th round. And I already said that I'm not going to do kickers this time. So let's see which from those 3 colleges is left here in the 7th round. Tim Smith, defensive lineman. All right, his stuff is below average. But he is tall, 6'4", 302. He could Oh, I need more information about his vertical because he could be one of those special teamers that's really good at getting up there to block the punts and field goals and stuff like that. Maybe developmental, I don't know. Carson Barnhart, another tackle for Michigan. Got below average stats though. 6'5", 316. If it says T, then they're typically referring to the offensive line, so offensive tackle, or G for offensive guard, or C for offensive center. Because if it's D line, then it'll just say DL or edge. There's the kicker. I already said I'm not getting him. And I did get Chris Jenkins once earlier, but I think just for the sake of having a little bit more extra depth with the defensive line, I think I'll go with Tim Smith. If I can find him, there he is. And give Alabama a little bit more representation on this draft as well. That way it's not all U of M players. All right, PFF, how did I do in your subjective grading? Cornelius Johnson, an F at round 373. Well, I'd prefer to try to get the other one, but he was already gone. But B for Chris Broswell up there. Okay, I respect it. Chris Jenkins up there, C plus. B minus for Drake Nugent and cornerback Josh Wallace. D minus for Josh Proctor. So I guess PFF agrees with me with Ohio State stuff there. And then, yeah, overall C grade. So I guess that's kind of the thought process with those players from those type of schools, because we know Brad Holmes is good at finding talent in all rounds in the draft. So for all we know, he could be looking at somebody in a first round player like maybe Kool-Aid McKinstry, or maybe somebody all the way like way down in day 3, like a Drake Nugent or somebody like that. So who do you guys think from University of Michigan, Ohio State, or Alabama does Brad Holmes have his eye on? Feel free to let me know in the comments, and let me know if you feel like this type of mock draft, this kind of gave you something to think about whether or not to Brad Holmes is, if you kind of figure out what Brad Holmes might try to do or who he might have his eye on. So keep your eyes out for more mock drafts like this. It is the middle of mock draft season, and yeah. And always remember, I'm just trying to help.